Hi, everyone. My name is Jody Scissors. I am a Caucasian woman with long brown hair. I'm wearing a black turtleneck, and I will be your moderator tonight. This evening for our webinar, we'll be discussing social, emotional, artistic learning in New Orleans music. There are a couple of Zoom features that you may recognize, but the one for the most part that we're going to use tonight is the chat feature. So we'll have some moments for engagement, and we'd love to hear from everyone that has joined tonight. I'd like to introduce you to our featured panelist, Elizabeth Peterson. She is a teacher, author, and the creator of SEL, Social, Emotional, Artistic Learning. And we have a very special guest with us tonight. You may recognize him, Shannon Powell, a legendary drummer and Preservation Hall master practitioner.
Thank you.
Also joining us tonight, we have an ASL interpreter. Laura Siciliano is joining us again. She was with us in our last series. Please welcome her as well. And now I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Shannon Powell.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to Preservation Hall Lessons Webinar. I'm Shannon Powell, Creole man, born and raised in New Orleans in the Trim A. Here at Preservation Hall Foundation, we strive to create greater awareness and appreciation for the traditional New Orleans music, culture, and tradition. Thank you for being here as we explore the topic of social, emotional, artistic learning along the side of the treasured sounds of my city. Before we get started, though, let's get to know each other better in the chat box. Tell us your name, nickname, or stage name, what city you're representing, what is music. We'll give you a few minutes to reply. All right. Oh, there's Tammy Hall in San Francisco, Monterey Bay area. Music is my life. He said, great. We got Holly from New Orleans. Music is sounds and movement and joy. Oh my goodness. Sherry Houston, music is a constant in a changing life. Wow. Okay.
I would say we've got some deep responses. What do you think, Shannon?
I love that. I love that.
Hey, Shannon, before we move on to Elizabeth, can you tell us what music is to you?
Oh, music is everything to me. Coming up in the Trim in New Orleans, very emotional, and I learned to play music with a feeling. Music is supposed to be played with a feeling. And when I do clinics around the world, I tell all the musicians that you have to have music played with a feeling. And what I mean by a feeling, with soul, you have to bring everything in you into your music and into your instrument. Because so many students go to school to learn music and theory and how to write and read music, but they never really learn how to play music with a feeling. You know what I'm saying? So music to me is a feeling. You know, I come out the church of New Orleans all my life, and that's why I learned about music with a feeling. Before I knew anything about playing the drums, I felt the vibe in the church as a kid with from the feeling of the music. And I think all musicians in the world should think about that seriously because that's what music is, a feeling. In today's webinar, you'll dive deep into the meaning of music throughout the lens of social, emotional, artistic learning. Without further ado, y'all, I'd like to introduce you to our leading panelist today, Miss Elizabeth Peterson. Thank y'all.
Excellent. Thank you, Shannon. Yes, hello, everybody. I'm Elizabeth Peterson. I'm a Caucasian female. I have long brown hair, and today I'm wearing a short sleeve black sweater. I'm so excited to be here with you, and I really, really appreciate being with such amazing people and this Shannon Powell. How amazing is that? So thank you very much. All right, so we've got a great webinar ahead of us for you. We're going to be taking a big dive into the social emotional competencies. We're going to take a look at how music specifically integrates so naturally with those those competencies as well. We're going to look specifically at some of the competencies, including self-awareness, which will do an activity together with that. And then we're going to look at what SEAL, social, emotional, artistic learning, actually is. We'll look at some of the research that really backs all of this stuff up, the stuff that we already know, kind of in our blood and guts, right? And then we'll look at a few great applications of SEAL specifically to New Orleans music, because that is what we are here today for. And then at the end, I'm going to ask you to kind of think about the things that you've learned and how you can start utilizing some of the strategies even tomorrow, which would be amazing. So let's get started. I want to start with what the social emotional competencies are. And for that, I've got this graphic up here. It's the SEL wheel, and I'm going to pull from my special SEAL words that kind of go with these to kind of give you an idea of some of the skills that come out with the competencies themselves. And if you're familiar with them, if you want to kind of add to what I'm saying, please do that in the chat as well. So let's take a look at some of these competencies. We'll start, of course, with self-awareness. Now, this is where we look at how we identify our own emotions, right? Recognize some of our strengths and how we can utilize them, and kind of gain a sense of true identity of who we are and what we can offer the world. And that is a great way for us to kind of build that confidence. Then if we go into self-management, that's when we're looking at impulse control, some stress management as well. Under that umbrella of self-management, we have like self-discipline and motivation as well as organizational skills and how to get things done. Then we can look at social awareness. That's where we can really help our students and help ourselves to take some good perspective taking, show a little empathy, understand and appreciate the diversity of the people around us, and show a respect for those people as well. In relationship skills, that's where we kind of think about how we communicate with others verbally, physically, with our body language, how we communicate and how we also listen to others. Of course, inside there is also the teamwork and the cooperation that goes with those kinds of skills. And then responsible decision making. That's where we can really dig into how we identify problems and go through a process of solving those problems in a safe way and in an ethically responsible way as well. So that's a quick overview of the social emotional competencies. Now let's take a look at how music plays into this, because the social emotional competencies can be seen, practiced, and developed through all the musical processes. And these, the creating, composing, the listening, responding, the performing and connecting, these are all the these are all the music processes that are from the National Core Arts Standards. So if you go to that website or you're familiar with those National Core Arts Standards, all the art forms kind of fall under those 4 categories. And music is no different, right? Music is such a natural connection. For example, expressing yourself through your compositions and your performances, being able to self-manage yourself with the music that you might listen to or that you might move to. You can build relationships with others as you perform together or you share musical experiences together. Music brings about social awareness through sharing and learning about other cultures, songs, and sounds. And there are so many decisions that we make throughout the entire creative process of creating and performing music. And that's just scratching the surface. I want to take a look really quickly at some of these right here. And as I'm going through this list, kind of be thinking, yeah, how am I able to do this through music? And if something kind of nabs you and you're like, yeah, I can see that with music, go ahead and give a little thumbs up or a yes in the chat, just to let me know if this is starting to make a little sense to you, or maybe it already does and I'm just reinforcing it, right? So identifying our emotions, right, through music. Understanding others' perspectives when we listen to music or play together. How we can communicate effectively with others through musical creation or discussion around music. How we can use music to manage our emotions as well and develop positive relationships. That's a key word there, is positive relationships. And then of course, also being able to make good decisions throughout the entire creative process of whatever it is you're developing with your musical skills and talents. All right, so we're gonna give this, all right, I see some stars in there. Excellent, Sherry, thank you. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna try it ourselves. All right, so we're gonna do a little activity of self-awareness, and we're gonna do it by listening to the song that goes with this lesson from the Preservation Hall Foundation Lessons Archive, and I hope you check it out if you haven't already. There's so many amazing lessons in there. This is for Walkin' to New Orleans. Now, when I play this song, I want you to be thinking about your own emotions, right? And then I want you to have an opportunity to write down some of those emotion words that come up for you. Maybe you write it down as phrases. Maybe you could draw an emoji. And this also pertains to the chat. So if I would love to see some of your responses in the chat, and you should see a little emoji in there too that you can kind of pop in an emoji to if you would like. But you know, you can also use your handout. Maybe you want to doodle or sketch as you're listening. If you really want, why not get up and move and dance? Because if the music's gonna move you, do that. But I just want you to kind of have that moment to, as you're moving, to really think about what it is you're feeling as you're moving to it, even if you're just moving along in your chair, okay? So please use the chat. I want to encourage that for sure. And I'd like us to listen right now to Walkin' to New Orleans from the Preservation Hall Lessons Ensemble. And of course, we have right there our own Shannon Powell on drums. So enjoy, and I'll meet you in the chat.
It's time I'm walking to New Orleans. Walking to New Orleans. I'm gonna need 2 pair of shoes when I get through walking these blues. When I get back to New Orleans, got my suitcase in my hand. A shame. I'm leaving here today. Yes, I'm going back home to stay. Yes, I'm walking to New Orleans. To be my honey, till you spend all my money. walking to New Orleans. I've got no time for talking. Got to keep on walking. New Orleans is my home. There's a reason why I'm going. So I'm walking to New Orleans. Walking to New Orleans. Walking to New Orleans. Walking to New Orleans.
Awesome. And thank you for putting some thoughts in the chat. Let's see what we've got. We've got from Tammy, appreciation for Fats Domino. Oh, yes, absolutely. Remembering listening to the song when I was a child on a TV commercial for an old rock blues hits. I love that. Grateful for a memory. So that feeling of gratefulness, how cool is that you have that, Tammy? Jody's saying I'm having deep feelings of missing someone or something. Oh yeah, and someone up here, Matthew said, a feeling of longing, wanting something so much that you'll do anything for it. Fantastic. We've got feeling calm, taking long, slow steps, looking around, soaking up the world inside and out. I love this. And Shannon, that was from Sherry. And then Shannon said, I have definitely had this feeling before. Plus, my grandma and grandpa met at a sock hop where Fats was playing. How cool is that? That's fantastic. It just goes to show you how music can bring up emotions. And it's such a great thing to take that moment and really think about it, right? And reflect on it. And reflection is such an important part of all social emotional learning, certainly with SEAL and definitely when it comes to music. And the music of New Orleans just has so much emotion and so much soul. Like what Shannon was saying, there's soul in there, there's feeling. And so being able to take that moment and really think about it and reflect on it is such a great thing to be able to do. So thank you for doing that. Lola's chiming in. She says, yes, the nostalgia, longing, especially with the ain't there no more feeling, missing things and people that are no longer, even if you're living in the same place. Ooh, great. All right. If you still have more, please put it in there and people can continue to read and have some reactions, because that's what this is all about. All right, so let's continue on. I'd like to tell you a little bit about what SEAL is. So Jody mentioned that I'm a teacher, and this is my 24th year of teaching. And in the last few years, it's been very, very evident, even before COVID, that students need some structured learning when it comes to social and emotional skills, and not just one or two, but a lot more students. You can let me know if you're seeing that too around you. And so what SEAL does is it takes the best of what the arts can bring and what we need through social emotional skills and puts them together. Now there are these two words here. I say SEAL is a proactive approach to explicitly teach social emotional skills through the arts. So it's proactive. So when you decide that you want to integrate these social emotional skills in what you're doing is being proactive. You're giving students a chance to express their emotions like we did before, giving them a chance to utilize some good musical strategies. We'll talk about a couple in this webinar, and be able to use it in a proactive way. And that way the students kind of have more of that exposure and those experiences that will help them with their social and emotional growth. And the other part is being explicit. And I think that that's a really important thing for SEAL, for all social emotional learning, really. And that is to not only just kind of create these experiences for your kids and others that you may work with, but also to tell them why you're doing that. So for example, with the activity we just did, which was simply listen to a piece of music and then reflect on how it really makes you feel, I kind of explained why that's a good thing and why that's important to really just live in the moment and explore those feelings and kind of sit with them for a moment. So SEAL is a branch of arts integration because it couples these three powers that the arts have. And of course, the music has these powers as well. They are naturally differentiating, highly engaging, and they are emotionally charged, coupling those with the need for the development of social emotional competencies. So naturally differentiating, what I love about music and all the arts really is that they meet you where you're at, and then they also challenge you to do more. So for example, with the Walk into New Orleans, everyone could participate in that. Listen, feel the vibrations on the speaker, kind of soak that music and that rhythm and those feelings in. And for some of you, you were able to really kind of linger with it a little bit and challenge yourself to think, okay, how does this make me feel? How can I describe this? And that reflection just challenged you to go a little bit further. It's highly engaging. Music and all the arts, hands on, ears on, just a full mind body experience when you really dive into music and various art forms, and emotionally charged as well. And I think with our introduction about what music is, so many people commented on how it's a feeling, right? It is part of who I am. So music certainly is emotionally charged. Now, there is a framework to SEAL, and it's in 3 waves. I have an ocean theme going, and you may or may not realize that behind me, I have some ocean themed things in my background, some starfish, and you can kind of see the bottom of an ocean painting that my daughter created for me. And so with the SEAL framework, the first wave or phase is where we look at the SEAL teacher mindset, because teachers and anyone who's working with other people really have to kind of get a different mindset on to help them to interact with others. People have been changing, students are changing, and so our role interacting with others has changed as well. So that's part of the mindset part. In the wave 2, that's where we look at SEAL teacher methods, how to bring some of these experiences into our classrooms, into our programs, into the work that we do with others. And then, of course, wave 3, that's where we look at all the integrations of how the various art forms integrate with all of those social emotional competencies that we talked about earlier. And that's where we're really going to be focusing in during this webinar, is in those SEAL integrations. All right, so let's keep moving, because this is an important thing. We've got the research. The research clearly is on our side. Research shows that through music, students are able to develop key SEL skills such as, look at these amazing things: confidence and self-expression, responsibility and awareness of how their own behavior can affect others. Maybe you've seen this when you have like a musical rehearsal and students need to interact with one another, not just before the rehearsal, but while they're playing together. The ability to empathize with a range of diverse perspectives, and of course, forming close relationships through cooperative experiences. When you experience something together, you're definitely forming relationships. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. This is stuff that you probably know, right? Give me a yes in the chat if this is stuff that you kind of already knew right down in your deep depths of yourself. But it's so nice to know that there's research that backs this up as well. Yes, Tammy says. So let's take a look at how music builds community. I'd like you to take a look at these pictures, these beautiful photos that Jody was able to grab for us from the archives of Preservation Hall. And I'd love for you to take a look and kind of just get a sense and add to the chat. I want you to comment on what you see here in terms of relationship building. So I'm going to give you a moment and I want you to go ahead and put in the chat, go ahead and look at body language, facial expression, the situations in each of the photos, and comment on the relationship skills that you see, or the relationships that you see being built. And I'll add to this as well. Get in the right spot here. All right, so we see smiles and collaboration, the joyful back and forth between people. Yes, the space to react to things. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, giving people a spot to actually take something in and then react to it. I love that, Sherry. We've got Matthew saying playful relationships, having fun together. I mean, that is a classic way to build community, is just to enjoy yourself. Lisa's saying helping, collaborating, and teamwork. Yes. Tammy, engagement and trust, collaboration and joy. And I love this, Jody. The multi-generational learning happening, laughter, smiles, warmth, and friendship. And I can't help but comment, like on the top left photo, I feel like the gentleman is just kind of like playing a little joke on this little kid, and the kid loves it. Boom, connection, right? That's how you build relationships in that beautiful multi-generational way. I also want to point out the photo on the bottom on the left, and where the Preservation Hall musicians are performing, and then there's an audience on the other side. When we talk about music, there's really not just one aspect that's happening. There's really three things, three groups of people that really make music happen, right? There's the composer, then there's the performer, and then there's the audience. And all three of those groups of people can intermingle with one another in this wonderful way to build relationships through music. So in that photo, you've got the musicians performing, you've got the audience listening, taking it in, clapping along, and there's such a connection there, such a connection. And so I guess what I really want to emphasize is that you don't have to be a quote unquote musician for this stuff to work for you, right? You don't have to be a skilled musician to really feel the effects of music. And I think that that's an important thing to keep in mind as you bring some of these experiences to other people. I also love the community that's being built in the bottom right picture with all those students. Looks like some of them have created their own instruments. That must have been a great experience in and of itself. And then on top of that, to create the music together. So there's just so much going on in these photos, so much. And you can even see a little bit of pride there in the middle with the student and the teacher. It's just so much good stuff. All right, so again with the research, again, something that we know inside of ourselves, but it's so nice to have this to back ourselves up sometimes. Researchers think one of the most important functions of music is to create a feeling of cohesion or social connectedness. And I feel like we can really see that inside this picture because we have the musicians, the performers, we have people reacting and really listening in, some actively with their body, some just kind of passing by, but everybody makes that one great community as a whole. So what does music do? It gives people a chance to share a common experience. It builds communication skills, not just words, not just verbally, but through music and through movement that goes along with the music, through stories and opinions and ideas that you might share with the music. There's that social engagement and of course the collaboration. And so if you think about, just doing that one activity that we already did with the self-awareness and kind of talking about how we feel about a piece of music, just sharing one song together with your students or a group of people creates that common experience. And that's how you can start to really build some great community inside of your classroom. All right. Now, if any questions come up or thoughts, please put them in the chat. I'd love to address them as we go. And we'll certainly have some time at the end for question and answer as well. Okay. All right. So now we're going to move into social awareness and music. And this definitely goes along with both of what we've already done, the self-awareness and the relationship building. And now let's take it a little step further with being aware of others' perspectives, okay? This picture is from my own classroom a few years back when we were doing some listening to music in my classroom. And we listened to April in Paris by Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong. And we listened to music during our snack time. And we just have those common experiences. And I'm telling you, it is one of the best ways that my students build their community inside of my classroom. And so for this particular one, we listened to April in Paris. And then as they were about to transition from their snack time to the next thing, I asked them all to grab a whiteboard marker and just write down one feeling that they had when they listened to it. And then they went back. So it's that self-awareness that we did earlier, us together. Well, as you can see, some kids had similar things and some kids had differences, right? We have calm, we have sleepy, relaxed, we've got happy, but we also have, you can see Thomas in the middle, meh. So there's all these different emotions on there, and every song, of course, is going to elicit different emotions from different people. But it's such an important thing to do. And I think doing it with music helps students in a safe way understand that other people have different perspectives about the same thing. In this case, other people have different perspectives about the same song. And what a great thing to do and pull in some amazing New Orleans music. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so I want us to do something here with this lesson that comes from Preservation Hall Lessons. It's New Orleans Genres and Origin. And the video that goes with it has different excerpts of songs. We're going to listen to the first one, which is a ragtime. Okay. What I want you to do, yeah, kids' comments are great, Sherry. What I want you to do is I want you to share in the chat, if you would, how the genre makes you feel. I want you to also kind of look through what other people say, and we're going to reflect on some of the similarities and some of the differences that people have. And I want you to take the moment to notice what's going on in terms of social awareness. Now, I do want to have a small disclaimer almost, and that is when I do this with students, I take way more time to go through each of these steps, right? So I'm fast forwarding things here with you because I want you to have the experience and kind of be able to apply it to your own situation. But, you know, we would spend a day just listening to the song, spend a day, I mean like 10, 15 minutes listening to the song, having students respond with their emotions, that self-awareness part. And then after another day or so, listen to the same song and talk about what other people are thinking of the same song. In fact, the reason why I took a picture of this is so that I could bring it back and refer to it the next day, and we could point out the similarities and differences that people wrote on the board. All right, so get your ears ready, get your fingers ready. We're going to listen to a ragtime from the New Orleans Ragtime Orchestra from 1970. It's a short excerpt, so I'll probably play it twice. And I hope you enjoy this. All right, I'm gonna play that again because it's a nice and short one. By the way, these short pieces are great to start with your students. And the Preservation Hall lessons have videos of amazing songs performed by the Preservation Hall Lessons Ensemble. Definitely check out that collection that they have, because the songs are a good time-wise, 2-3 minutes, and of course they grab attention, and they're just great songs to use inside your classrooms. All right, so let's listen again and keep adding to the chat. Yay, all right. So, all All right, let's see what we've got. We've got some great words, great phrases. Mine was bouncy. Leslie's got uplifting, toe tapping fun. How great is that? Happy, swingy, like a trip through time from Jody. Tammy's saying lilting and grand. Matthew, energetic, want to get up and move. I hope you did. I hope you did. Leslie, happy party music. Great. Jody's dancing in her seat. Me too. Kind of couldn't help it. Leslie said playful. Sherry, gotta move to it. Even sitting down brings peppy, upbeat feel. Yeah. And you know what? This is actually making me think this would be a great little lesson in synonyms, right? We've got bouncy, we've got peppy, we've got toe tapping. Excellent. I see this really setting up a good conversation between students. That's from Jody. Yeah, I agree. And you know that there will be some students who this is absolutely brand new to, right? They may have never heard ragtime before. And so when you're able to open up their eyes a little bit, open up the doors of their minds to new genres and new music. That's what I love about this particular Preservation Hall lesson, is that it's got all these different genres of New Orleans music, and it just gives some great exposure and can create wonderful discussions around the music itself. And that's the beauty and the real thought behind social awareness and utilizing music this way, is that everyone's going to come to the experience of listening to this song from different experiences, right? They're coming to it from different life experiences. And what they bring is something unique. And being able to see that and understand that in this safe space where all we're doing is listening to music and talking about our ideas, our opinions, and our interpretations, that kind of gives them that proactive time to build those skills so that they can start applying it to other aspects of their life. I mean, how important is it to be able to open-mindedly listen to someone else's perspective and think, okay, they think differently than I do. And that's okay. So that's what this is really at the core of this. Lola, a gay old time. That's how I'd like to say it with that little lilt. A gay old time. Fantastic. All right. So let's do a quick reflection on this. I want you to, if you would please, type a short reflection on your experience listening to these songs, being able to look at what other people wrote, even when we were listening to Walking to New Orleans, and think about, how does this play into social awareness? How could this play into bringing an experience like this to your students or your group that you work with? All right, so in terms of perspective taking, showing empathy, appreciating diversity, being able to respect others, and seeing the strengths in others as well. Or I would say seeing the differences and maybe seeing those differences as strengths or just simply unique differences. So if you have any comments on that, please add to the chat. And you know, I may kind of tie this in, if I might, tie this into your exit ticket as well, okay? Because what I want is you to have something to bring back with you to whatever classroom or program or situation that you're in. Whatever brought you here to this webinar about integrating SEL with New Orleans music, I want you to be able to use something, even tomorrow. So thinking about what is something you'll try with your students. Or what is one connection that you want to emphasize in your music class or your general class? I'm a general ed teacher, but I integrate music into my classroom as much as I possibly can for social emotional learning. So Jody's saying, I've never thought about music as a way for understanding different perspectives. In the classroom, I always use stories or social studies topics. Yeah, this is just like an extension of that. And if you think about it, when you utilize some of the music of New Orleans, this is same. You're using stories, right? If you think about the lyrics to Walk into New Orleans, you're using stories. It's just in musical form. And social studies topics, just in musical form. Ragtime, what, if you wanted to dig into, that time period, what was going on, why, what made ragtime come to be. And you get all those great tie-ins with your curriculum. So as those are coming in, I think we can also start heading into our Q&A. So I'd love to invite Jody back in. And but I gotta see, Sherry's got something good in here. She says, this is my biggest reason to join this web in Articulate. Excited that this is a new way to expand student experiences and curiosity more. Love that. It certainly is. And Leslie says, being transparent about music being a way to build social and emotional skills. We'll play a song and hear how students feel and let them reflect on each student's feelings. Fantastic. Love that, Leslie. All right, so Jody, I'm going to hand it to you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That was amazing. I learned so many strategies in that amount of time, you hitting on those competencies. So thank you so much. I also want to say that Shannon had to leave to go to a gig, and he sends his best to everyone. And thanks for letting him be a small part of this day and sharing his thoughts on what music is. I always enjoy his perspective on life. So we're going to open up the Q&A board in the chat. If anybody has any questions for Elizabeth, please take this time to shoot those in the text right now or in the chat, and we will see if Elizabeth has a response for you, or we can find a response for you.
Absolutely. A topic I could talk about for days. So
Absolutely. This is not my first go around with Elizabeth. I've attended several of her professional development opportunities and highly recommend anybody that wants to continue to learn social, emotional, artistic learning. She has much more than what was presented here in this hour. So, all right, do we have any questions in there? Let's see. I like how people are sharing what they're going to do next. That's a telltale sign of what you like to see in a PD is something that you can actionably do even just the next day. And I'm excited about that. This gets me thinking about some of the things that we're going to be doing in the build out of our new lessons for this year, and how we really want to incorporate social and emotional artistic learning, because we know that teachers need resources, and we definitely want to be a part of that. Okay.
yeah, so Matthew has something that he's sharing also. He says, I definitely will take away using music to help with self-awareness. I teach very young students, and they often have a hard time identifying and naming their emotions. So music can be a great way to help students with that. Yeah, I just want to emphasize that music is something that can naturally bring people together and naturally give students something to talk about. And so instead of, them just coming in one day and you ask them, how do you feel? They may have a hard time explaining that and identifying that. But the more experiences you give them listening to music or creating art or moving or, all the different art forms, you give them that opportunity to really explore the different feelings and help them to be able to identify them, so that when you do see them acting a certain way, you can approach them and maybe they have a little bit more social emotional vocabulary to use too, which is great.
Absolutely. I'm looking at Leslie's comment, and she says that my son's school has recognized that students are socially and emotionally challenged, the whole class. I'll suggest that they use music in their weekly restorative circle. I love that. And at the end of this week, we'll actually have this webinar on YouTube, as well as like our resources and resources from Elizabeth, and feel free to share those. If you need some validation or some backup behind what you're suggesting, we definitely will back you up.
Definitely.
All right, I'm gonna move on to the next slide here. Okay. So like I mentioned, we will be sharing this out for you to revisit any of the topics. And if you need to share with, your PLC or your community or your parent community, we know that there's a lot of stakeholders in education and that everybody could benefit from learning something about social emotional artistic learning. So here are some resources for you. You can learn more about Elizabeth on her website. You can catch her on socials. Same for us. You could, if you also are in need of ASL interpreting services, we've got Laura's information there as well. And we'll go to the next slide.
Sorry, I keep clicking into the chat.
No, that's okay. I do the same thing. And then obviously, like if you want to quick start any of these musical experiences, all of the legacy and collective members and community members of Preservation Hall have really worked over the last few years to bring more New Orleans music into schools and communities. And these are written from the voices and experiences of these musicians. You can catch Shannon in many of the instructional videos and hear his voice and how he's contributed historically, culturally to the New Orleans music scene. So if you get a chance, check them out and let us know your experience. We'd love to highlight any work that you do in your classroom or home with social, emotional, artistic learning. Thank you all for being with us tonight. We will share all of this information with you soon via email and on socials. And we can't thank you enough for being here to learn with us tonight.
Yes, thank you so much, everybody.